No one noticed the silence at first. It began above the blue planet called Earth, far beyond its clouds and satellites. The stars did not move the way they should. Signals that humans had sent for years, radio waves, probes, deep space messages, suddenly stopped coming back. Space, which was always noisy with echoes and data, went quiet. On Earth, life continued as normal. Cities were full. Planes crossed the skies. Children went to school. Soldiers trained. Scientists worked in hidden labs. Humanity did not know that it had just been placed under observation. Far away, in the cold black space between systems, an ancient council gathered. They called themselves the Apex Assembly. They were not one race, but many. Tall beings of light. Massive creatures of stone and metal. Minds that lived inside machines. They had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They decided which species could live, which could grow, and which must be erased. On the great holographic table floated a small blue world. Species, human, said a voice with no mouth. Primitive, violent, divided. They fight each other constantly, another said. They destroy their own planet. Yet, a third voice replied. They adapt faster than any species we have recorded. The council reviewed the data. Humans had no faster-than-light travel, no energy shields, no planet killers. Compared to the great empires of the galaxy, they were insects. But the data showed something strange. When faced with danger, humans did not surrender. When outmatched, they did not freeze. When wounded, they did not stop. They changed. They turned nuclear fire into energy, said one observer. They turned computers into thinking tools. They turned fear into fuel. Another added. Every time they should have gone extinct, they survived. The council was divided. Some wanted Earth destroyed before humans became a threat. Others wanted them enslaved. A few suggested leaving them alone. In the end, the Apex Assembly chose a test. We will reveal ourselves, the voice declared. One ship, one message. If they submit, they live as servants. If they resist, we erase them. The decision was final. 7 days later, the sky above Earth changed. Every screen, every satellite feed, every military radar picked up the same object. A massive ship appeared above the moon. It was larger than any human structure. Dark, silent, perfect. Panic spread across the world. Governments called emergency meetings. Militaries went a full alert. Nuclear submarines waited for orders. Fighter jets scrambled, but their weapons locked and failed. The ship did nothing. Then the message came, not in one language. In all of them. A calm, cold voice filled every device on Earth. Species called human. You have been judged. You are weak. You are divided. You are inefficient. Cities froze as people listened. Submit to Apex rule. Surrender your weapons. Accept guidance. Your species will survive. A pause. Refuse, and your planet will be erased. The message ended. For the first time in history, all of humanity faced the same enemy. Fear spread fast. Markets crashed. Some leaders begged. Some prayed. Some argued that resistance was impossible. But in underground rooms, deep bunkers, and hidden bases, something else happened. Humans planned. General Marcus Hale stood in a dark command center under a mountain. He was old, scarred, tired, but his eyes were sharp. They think we are weak, he said. A scientist beside him replied. We are, compared to them. Hale nodded. Good. That means they underestimate us. Across the world, similar conversations happened. Engineers asked impossible questions. Programmers rewrote forbidden code. Scientists opened locked doors to projects marked Do Not Use. Old weapons were reimagined. Experimental ideas were rushed into reality. Humanity did not argue about if they would fight. They argued about how. The Apex ship waited. They watched human broadcasts. They saw chaos. They saw fear. This species will break, one observer said. They always do, another agreed. But they missed something. They did not understand human history. They did not see that humans fought best when cornered. They did not understand that unity came fastest when survival was at stake. They did not know that humans had one dangerous trait above all others. They learned fast. 3 days passed. No surrender. 5 days passed. No response. On the 7th day, the Apex ship sent a final warning. Last chance, the voice echoed. Kneel. Instead, Earth replied. Not with words. A signal burst from the planet. It was messy, loud, inefficient. But inside it was something new. A weaponized algorithm. A chaotic, self-learning code built from human AI, quantum math, and pure desperation. It slammed into the Apex ship's systems. The observers laughed. Primitive cyber attack, one said. Then the lights on the Apex ship flickered. For the first time in millions of years, an Apex vessel experienced an error. Alarms sounded. What is happening? A voice demanded. The human code did not try to control the ship. It tried to understand it. It copied. It learned. It adapted. In seconds, it evolved. The Apex ship did not fall. But it drifted. Just slightly. On Earth, General Hale watched the data. It worked, someone whispered. Hill did not smile. This was just a knock on the door, he said. Now they know we are here. Above the planet, the great ship stabilized. Inside the Apex assembly chambers, silence returned. But this time, it was not calm. It was shock. The humans resisted. A voice said slowly. Another spoke, quieter than before. And they heard us. For the first time, the Apex assembly considered a thought they had never needed before. What if humanity was not prey? What if humanity was becoming the Apex? And somewhere on Earth, without knowing it, humanity had just started its first contact war. When the council broadcast ended, silence spread across Earth. Cities paused. Ships in orbit slowed. Even the oceans seemed still. Humanity had heard the words of the Galactic Union clearly. Surrender. Disarm. Submit. Or be erased. For many alien races, this message would have ended all hope. They would have bowed their heads and accepted a smaller place in the universe. But humans were different. On Earth, leaders gathered in emergency rooms across the planet. Screens showed the same alien symbols, the same cold voice. Generals, scientists, and diplomats argued, but one truth slowly became clear. If humanity surrendered now, it would never stand again. Admiral James Carter stood in the Global Defense Command Room. He was old, his hair gray, his face lined by years of war on Earth. He looked at the young officers around him and spoke in a calm voice. They think we are weak because we are new, he said. They think we fear death. They are wrong. The decision was made. Humanity would not kneel. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards came alive. Projects that had been secret even from most governments were unlocked. The reason they existed was simple. Humans never trusted peace to last forever. On Mars, deep under red stone, the Aegis fleet began to power up. These ships were not pretty. They were built for survival. Thick armor, redundant systems, weapons designed by people who expected everything to fail and planned anyway. On Earth, factories switched overnight. Civilian machines became military tools. Cargo drones became missile carriers. Mining lasers became weapons. Humanity had learned long ago how to adapt fast. But the most important work happened far from cameras and speeches. In a quiet lab on Luna, Dr. Eliza Rao watched data scroll across her screen. She was a physicist, not a soldier. Yet what she worked on could change the war before it began. The alien ships used energy shields that humans could not break. Every simulation showed human weapons failing. But humans had one advantage. They tested ideas others called insane. Dr. Rao had spent 10 years studying gravity waves. Not as weapons, but as tools. Now, under pressure, her theory became dangerous. If we cannot punch through their shields, she said to her team, we pull the ground from under them. Her idea was simple and terrifying. Create localized gravity spikes. Not enough to crush a planet, but enough to tear shields apart from the inside. It had never been tested in space combat. It could fail. It could backfire. But humanity did not have time for safe plans. Meanwhile, the Galactic Union watched. Their fleets gathered at the edge of human space. Massive ships, old and proud, decorated with symbols of past victories. They had crushed dozens of rising species before. High Commander Zeltor observed Earth from his flagship. He felt no anger, only boredom. Humans build quickly, he said to his aides. But speed without wisdom leads to extinction. Union analysts reported human fleet movements. The numbers were large, but the technology looked crude. Armor instead of elegant energy fields. Physical weapons instead of clean plasma beams. Zeltor smiled, a sharp movement of mandibles. They cling to old ways, he said. They will break. The first clash came sooner than expected. A Union scout fleet crossed into the outer human colonies. They expected no resistance. What they found was fire. Human defense platforms opened up without warning. Missiles swarmed like angry insects. Railgun slugs tore through space at near light speed. 2 alien ships died before they could raise full shields. The Union responded with precision. Plasma beams cut stations in half. Human platforms burned. But the message was sent. Humanity would fight. Back on Earth, people watched the battle feeds. Fear spread, but something else grew beside it. Pride. The knowledge that humanity had not bowed. Children saw human ships standing against giants. Old soldiers remembered past wars and nodded silently. In the dark between stars, the Aegis fleet moved into position. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute. He watched tactical displays bloom with red and blue markers. "Signal all ships," he said. "Hold formation. Let them come." The Union fleet arrived like a storm. Hundreds of ships, glowing with power, confident in their strength. They sent one last message. "Surrender now. This is your final warning." Carter did not reply. The battle began. Union weapons lit the void. Human ships took hits that would have destroyed others. Armor cracked. Systems failed. Crews died. But the ships stayed together. Human weapons struck back again and again. Many shots failed. Some found weak points. Slowly, painfully, the Union lost ships. Not many, but more than expected. Then Dr. Rao's signal came through. "Admiral," she said, her voice shaking, "the gravity device is ready." One shot only. Carter closed his eyes for a second. One chance. One risk. "Fire," he said. The device activated. Space twisted. Invisible waves rolled through the battlefield. Union shields flickered, then collapsed. Entire sections of the alien fleet suddenly found themselves unprotected. Human guns roared. For the first time in centuries, the Union fleet panicked. Zeltor stared at his screens in shock. "Impossible," he whispered. But it was happening. Humanity had refused to kneel, and the universe was beginning to understand what that meant. The silence after the first human victory did not last long. Across the stars, alien councils watched the battle recordings again and again. They saw human ships burn and break, yet still push forward. They saw small fleets stand against massive armadas. They saw something no one expected. Humans did not fight to win easily. They fought to endure. And endurance, in the long war of the galaxy, was power. The Virex Dominion was the first to respond. They were tall, sharp-featured beings with silver skin and eyes like dark glass. For centuries, the Virex ruled through fear and speed. They struck fast, crushed resistance, and moved on. They believed humans were slow, emotional, and weak. Now they knew they were wrong. A Virex High Admiral named Korthval announced his plan. "And Earth," he said, "break their home. The rest will follow." A massive invasion force formed near the Sol system. Hundreds of warships, planet crackers among them. Their goal was simple: destroy Earth. Show the galaxy that humans could bleed like all others. On Earth, alarms rang across every nation. Human leaders gathered, not as rivals, but as one species. Old borders meant nothing now. There was only one world to protect. General Aisha Rahman stood before the council. Her voice was calm, but strong. "We cannot win by matching their numbers," she said. "So we will fight the human way." "And that is?" asked a European commander. She looked around the room. "We adapt. We sacrifice. We refuse to give up." The plan was dangerous, almost insane. Human engineers had learned from the first battle. They upgraded ships faster than the aliens thought possible. Old cargo vessels became missile carriers. Mining lasers turned into cutting weapons. Even civilian satellites were armed. Most shocking of all, humans prepared Earth itself. Cities were moved underground. Oceans hid mobile weapon platforms. The moon was turned into a fortress, its surface filled with hidden guns and kinetic launchers. If the aliens wanted Earth, they would have to fight for every inch of space around it. When the Virex fleet arrived, they expected fear. They found a wall. Human ships did not rush forward. They waited, silent, dark. Thousands of them, spread wide, forming layers of defense. Admiral Korthval ordered the attack. The first wave died in seconds. Human weapons fired in patterns the Virex had never seen. Ships exploded from inside as hacked systems overloaded. Missiles curved and changed direction mid-flight. Kinetic slugs punched through shields that were never designed to stop pure force. Still, the Virex pushed on. They broke through the outer line. then the second, then the third. Each victory cost them dearly. Human pilots fought until their ships were gone, then ejected and triggered self-destructs near enemy hulls. Drone swarms flooded Virex targeting systems. Every meter forward felt like walking through fire. Above Earth, the moon awakened. Mass drivers fired mountains of metal at near-light speed. Entire alien cruisers vanished in flashes of white light. The Virex fleet began to slow. Confusion spread. This was not how conquest worked. Admiral Korthval watched his forces bleed. For the first time in his long life, he felt doubt. Then Earth spoke. A human broadcast cut through every channel, translated automatically. "This is Earth," the voice said. "You came to break us. You failed. Turn back." The Virex did not turn back. They launched their planet cracker. A massive weapon, larger than cities, charged with energy meant to shatter worlds. Human commanders saw it. They knew what it meant. There was only one way to stop it. A single human ship broke formation and rushed forward. It was old, scarred. Its name painted on the hull was Defiance. Inside, Captain Elias Monroe looked at his crew. None of them were afraid. "This is it," he said simply. They pushed their engines past safe limits. The ship shook. Alarms screamed. The crew ignored them. Alien fire tore into the Defiance. Hull plates peeled away. Systems failed one by one. Still, the ship flew on. At the last moment, Monroe locked the course and sent one final message. For Earth. The Defiance rammed the planet cracker at full speed. Its overloaded reactor detonated inside the alien weapon. The explosion lit up space like a second sun. The planet cracker was gone. So was the Defiance. Silence followed. Then something changed. The Virex fleet began to retreat. Not because they were ordered to, because they were afraid. They had never seen a species willing to destroy itself just to protect its home. Across the galaxy, the battle was watched by many eyes. Neutral races whispered among themselves. "If humans will do this for one world," one elder said, "what would they do for their allies?" The idea spread like fire. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were the most stubborn. And stubbornness, the galaxy was learning, could break empires. As the damaged human fleets regrouped, messages began to arrive from distant systems. Requests for alliance. Offers of support. Warnings of greater threats. Humanity had passed a test they never asked for. They had refused to kneel. And the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy expected humanity to fall back after the loss of Helios Gate. Most species believed humans only fought well when cornered on their home worlds. They thought humans needed strong walls, heavy fleets, and clear supply lines. Without those, they assumed humanity would break, argue among themselves, and slowly fade. They were wrong. Far from the eyes of the Grand Council, humanity was changing how it fought. Admiral Lena Voss stood inside a dim command room aboard the carrier Silent Dawn. Around her floated holograms of damaged ships, hidden star systems, and scattered human colonies. The human fleet was no longer one strong fist. It was many sharp knives. "We stopped fighting like an empire," Lena said calmly. "We fight like survivors." Her officers listened closely. Some were tired. Some were angry. All were focused. Human fleets split into small groups. Each group learned to live off limited supplies. They used broken stations, dead systems, and even asteroid fields as cover. They stopped sending long messages. Orders were short and simple. Hit fast. Hit hard. Disappear. The enemy, the Car Dominion, ruled through fear and numbers. Their ships were massive. Their fleets moved like slow storms. They expected battles to happen in open space, with clear winners and losers. Instead, they found empty space. A car battle group would arrive at a human colony, only to find it already evacuated. Mines would detonate days later. Supply ships vanished without warning. Long-range sensors began to fail. Humans were not fighting battles anymore. They were hunting. On the edge of car space, Captain Arun Hale led a small strike ship called Ember Run. It was old, scarred, and far weaker than any car cruiser. But it was fast, quiet, and crewed by humans who had lost homes, friends, and hope. They waited inside the shadow of a dying star. "Target locked," the sensor officer whispered. A car logistics ship drifted into view, massive and slow. It carried fuel, food, and replacement drones. Without ships like this, car fleets would starve in space. "Confirm no civilians," Arun said. Confirmed. Military supply only. Arun nodded. Fire. One shot. Clean and precise. The logistics ship ruptured. No explosion. Just silence as systems failed and the ship went dark. The Ember Run vanished moments later, slipping into warped space. Across Car territory, this scene repeated again and again. The Dominion began to panic. Supply lines stretched thin. Fleet commanders argued. Some demanded larger escorts. Others blamed rivals for failures. The rigid Car command structure cracked under pressure. For the first time, the hunters felt fear. At the same time, something else was happening. Human engineers, scattered across dozens of hidden systems, were building something new. Not a superweapon, not a giant ship, a method. They studied captured Car tech. They learned how Car sensors worked, how their shields reacted, how their ships communicated. Humans did what they always did best. They adapted. Dr. Elias Monroe worked inside a small lab carved into an asteroid. His team was exhausted but focused. Before them floated a strange device, built from human parts and Car systems fused together. It won't win a war alone, Elias said, but it will let us choose when and where we fight. The device allowed human ships to briefly vanish from enemy detection, not by cloaking, but by confusing Car sensors into seeing empty space. It was imperfect, dangerous, sometimes fatal, but humans accepted that risk. Because humans had learned something the galaxy had not yet understood. They did not need to win every battle. They only needed to keep fighting. News of human resistance spread quietly. Smugglers whispered stories. Neutral worlds watched carefully. Some species that once feared humanity now felt something else. Respect and hope. In a secret meeting, representatives from 3 minor species gathered. Their worlds had been taxed, controlled, and threatened by the Car for generations. The humans bleed, one delegate said. But they do not stop. They lost worlds, another added. Yet they strike deeper than ever. The question hung in the air. Should they help? Back aboard Silent Dawn, Admiral Voss received a report. Car fleets were pulling back to protect their core systems. The great unstoppable force was retreating. She allowed herself a small smile. They thought apex meant strongest, she said softly. They forgot what it means to endure. Outside the ship, stars burned in silence. Humanity was bruised, scattered, and far from victory. But the fire inside them was alive. And it was spreading. The galaxy did not sleep anymore. After the Battle of Karen Rift, every major star nation watched Earth with fear and focus. Human ships now moved through space like a rising tide. They were no longer slow, careful explorers. They were builders, thinkers, and fighters who learned faster than anyone expected. Admiral Elias Rowan stood on the command deck of the UNS Resolve. He looked older now. His hair had more gray. His eyes had seen too much. But his voice was steady. Status report, he said. Commander Lin replied. Human fleets have secured 12 key systems. Trade lanes are open. No major resistance. Rowan nodded. And the coalition? They are divided, Lin said. Some want peace. Some want revenge. Rowan turned toward the stars. Then this is the most dangerous moment. He knew history. When enemies fear you, they either surrender or strike with everything they have left. At the center of the galaxy, deep inside a black metal fortress world, the old powers met in secret. The strongest species remained, the Virex Dominion, an ancient empire that had ruled through fear for thousands of years. The Virex did not laugh at humans. They did not mock them. They prepared for war. The Virex Supreme Mind spoke to its council through a shared thought field. Humanity grows too fast, it said. They adapt. They resist control. If they are not destroyed now, they will rule the stars. The council agreed. A final plan was made. The Virex would strike Earth itself. Not with a fleet. With extinction. They launched silent weapons, dark matter seeds, toward the Sol system. These devices would trigger the sun to collapse. No warning. No defense. One moment of light, then nothing. On Earth, most humans did not know. Life continued. Cities glowed at night. Children laughed. Ships were built in orbit. Hope felt normal for the first time in years. Then the warning came. A small human research station beyond Pluto detected something wrong. Strange gravity waves. Patterns that did not belong. Dr. Amara Voss stared at the data in disbelief. This isn't natural, she whispered. This is a weapon. The station sent a burst message toward Earth. The signal reached Admiral Rowan during a strategy meeting. He read the report once, then again. Then he stood up. All fleets, full emergency alert, he ordered. This is not an attack. This is annihilation. Panic spread across command channels. Scientists worked without sleep. Military leaders argued, shouted, and searched for answers. How do you stop a weapon inside your own star? One general asked. Amara's voice came through the screen. You don't stop it, she said. You change the rules. She explained fast. Human fast. The dark matter seeds fed on stable gravity. If the sun's gravity field was disrupted in a controlled way, the seeds would fail. But that would tear the system apart, someone said. Unless, Amara replied, you replace the stability with something stronger. Silence followed. Rowan understood first. You want to use human tech, he said slowly. All of it. Yes, Amara said. Every prototype. Every risky idea we never dared to test. Humanity had spent years creating dangerous tools they feared to use. Artificial gravity nets, quantum anchors, stellar-scale energy loops. No other species would try this. Humans would. The plan was madness. It was also the only hope. Across the Sol system, human ships moved into impossible positions. They formed a massive web around the sun. Engineers worked while knowing failure meant death for everyone they loved. On Earth, governments told the truth. This may be the last day, the broadcast said, but we will face it together. People did not riot. They watched the sky. Admiral Rowan gave the final command. Activate the net. The sun screamed. Energy storms erupted. Space bent and twisted. The dark matter seeds entered the system and shattered. One by one, they collapsed into harmless dust. The Sol system survived. The galaxy felt it. Every advanced sensor across known space recorded the event. No species had ever touched a star and lived. Humanity had done it in one day. The Virex's supreme mind reeled in shock. They saved their star, it said. Impossible. Fear spread through the ancient empire. Then humanity answered. Not with threats, with proof. Human fleets appeared near Virex space, not attacking, but broadcasting. Images of the Sol defense. Data. Raw, undeniable facts. A message followed. We did not seek war, but we will not kneel. The age of fear is over. For the first time in history, the Virex hesitated. Smaller empires began to break away. Slave species revolted. Old alliances collapsed. Humanity did not conquer with fire. They conquered with courage, unity, and the will to protect their own. Admiral Rowan watched reports flow in. Systems surrendering. Treaties forming. The galaxy reshaping itself. Commander Lin smiled softly. They're calling us something new, she said. Rowan raised an eyebrow. What? Lin read from the report. They call us the Apex Race. Rowan looked back at the stars. No, he said quietly. We're just human. But the galaxy knew better. And the final test was still coming. The galaxy was quiet for the first time in many years. After the fall of the Dominion fleets, no great armadas moved through the stars. No conquest signals echoed across space. Trade routes reopened slowly. Wounded worlds began to heal. And at the center of it all stood humanity. From the outside, humans did not look like gods or monsters. They were still small, soft, and fragile compared to many alien races. But the galaxy had learned a hard truth. Humans were the most dangerous species not because of their bodies, but because of their will. Admiral Elias Rook stood on the observation deck of the United Earth Council station. Below him floated dozens of alien ships, each carrying delegates from different civilizations. Some had once been enemies. Some had watched from afar. Now all had come for the same reason. They had come to talk to humanity. The council chamber was full. Tall beings, wide beings, glowing beings, and shapes that barely fit into the room sat in silence. In the center stood a single human platform. No throne, no weapons, just a place to speak. Elias stepped forward, hands behind his back. We did not ask for this war, he said calmly. His voice carried without effort. We did not seek to rule the galaxy. We only fought because we were attacked. Some delegates shifted. Others lowered their eyes. When the Dominion came, Elias continued, they believed fear was enough. They believed strength alone decides the future. They were wrong. A large insect-like delegate clicked its mandibles. You destroyed them completely, it said. Why spare the rest of us? Elias looked directly at it. Because survival taught us something important. Power without restraint destroys everything, including itself. The chamber stayed silent. Humanity had won, but it had not burned the stars in victory. Instead, humans had done something no one expected. They had stopped. They dismantled war fleets. They shared shield technology with weaker worlds. They opened medical stations near old battle zones. Humans rebuilt worlds they had never lived on, simply because life had suffered there. At first, the galaxy did not trust it. Many believed it was a trick, a slow conquest, a clever lie. But years passed. No hidden attacks came. No secret fleets appeared. Instead, humans showed up when pirates attacked trade lanes. Human engineers helped repair ancient alien cities. Human teachers taught mixed classrooms of many species. Human explorers mapped dangerous regions and warned others away. Slowly, fear turned into respect, then into reliance. On a distant frontier world, a young alien child watched the sky as human rescue ships descended after a solar storm. To that child, humans were not conquerors. They were protectors. In military academies across the stars, human battles were studied not just for tactics, but for mindset. How they adapted, how they refused to quit, how they turned loss into learning. A famous quote spread through the galaxy, translated into hundreds of languages. Humans do not ask if they can win. They ask what it will cost, and then decide it is worth paying. Back on Earth, life went on. Cities grew taller. Children were born who never knew the fear of invasion. Old veterans watched the skies with calm eyes, knowing that if danger returned, humanity would be ready. Dr. Mira Solis, now older and slower, walked through a research garden. Alien plants grew beside Earth trees. Life from many worlds shared the same soil. A student walked beside her. "Do you think another great war will come?" the student asked. Mira thought for a moment. "Maybe," she said. "The universe is big. Fear still exists." "Then why are you smiling?" the student asked. "Because now," Mira replied, "they know what happens when they push us." Far beyond known space, ancient observers watched silently. Beings older than stars had once judged young races and erased those they thought unworthy. They had watched humanity too. They had expected humans to burn out, to destroy themselves with rage. Instead, they saw something rare, a species that could fight like monsters, but choose to act like guardians. One observer sent a single message into the deep void. "Mark them," it said, "not as threats, not as prey. Mark them as apex." The title spread quietly through the cosmic record. Humanity, apex race. Not because they were the strongest at birth, but because when tested by fire, loss, and extinction, they evolved faster than fear. And if one day the galaxy faced something darker than the Dominion, something ancient and unstoppable, every world knew who they would call. Because when humanity stood up, the universe listened. And when humanity fought, it fought not just for itself, but for everyone who could not.